him not there. All right, we're live. Here we go.
Looks like that.
Looks like that. It looked like it looked like a man.
You want to adjust your camera so that your head is like in the 2/3 range?
You don't like me being.
I mean, I can do that too.
Did you get to play with Lucy at all?
I did not get to play, but I got to watch her play, and I got to see Mike, and I can't remember who else played with her, and then a little bit of Allison Dixon playing with her.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, it was cool. It started raining, so what we're talking about, if you're YouTube, well, no, we don't have anybody yet, but it rained, so they did the beginning of the ribbon cutting in the country club, and then the sun came out, and they went out and they dried a couple courts, and so we got to go out there, and her and some people that she brought did like a little exhibition round or whatever you want to call it, game, and took questions, and they played, and then she would kind of demonstrate the answers to the questions and stuff. So it's kind of cool to watch her talk about that. Dixon asked, when you served, do you like put, I can't remember how he put it, but basically he was asking about like what he does, where it's like, do you just serve to get the ball in play, or do you like try to be strategic with your serves?
Right.
And her first answer was just to get the ball in play. But make sure you give a lot of depth to your serves because it gives you time to think, what's my next move? And I said, I real loud, I went, did you hear that, Dixon? and of course our people laughed, and then she says, now wait a minute, now if you've got a good serve, if you got it, can put a good spin on it, blah blah blah, then you go for it.
Yeah, and then of course he's like,
Dixon,
see,
yeah. So though it was cool to see her do some really good shots, and to see her reaction time to different things. The biggest thing that she said that I took away was, and I mean it's not like it was brand new information, but she would tell people to slow down. Like dinking the game is dinking. And so now when it speeds up, you got to be ready to speed up and go with the flow. But there were times where people were like hitting it hard and stuff, and she says, slow it down. Just slow it down. Don't worry about that. Just slow it down. And she says, the game is in the dink. You're going back and forth until you get that opportunity to hit it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I went to a clinic a couple weeks ago, and they talked about the same thing. Just like, dude, pickleball is not a game of winners. It's a game of unforced errors. If you make fewer mistakes, you are going to win.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I've tried to take that into account, and it's made a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't seem as fun to start, but then when you win a bunch, you're like, hey, this is fun. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm not hitting the ball at people real hard like I normally do.
Yeah. People are always looking for that. And I'm going to try that next time. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, has become my pickleball night. And I'm going to try that strategy in mind as people try to slam the balls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look who it is.
Hey, viewers, welcome. Brody, thanks for joining us. Frank, thanks for joining us. Eric is just coming back from the Polecat World Championships. Hey. He's just coming back from the Polecat World Championships, so he just walked in.
Pole position.
So, appreciate you guys joining us. Eric, how was it, man? Actually, let's wait. Hold on. Don't say anything. Let's wait for the show.
Yeah, wait till the actual show.
So that we can talk about it.
The show.
The show.
I saw some big ballers playing. High-rated players.
Yeah, it was good.
Dope.
Yeah, I think right now it's pretty good. I mean, I felt like I played pretty solid. I can't be mad. Juliana Correa beat me though, so there's that.
Dude, nice. She's friggin' good, man.
Oh, dude, she's so good, and it's the perfect course for a frisbee thrower. And and knowing the polecat and everything, I played fine.
You're talking about it. We're not even good yet.
I'm just saying. I'm not even up with the chat. Sorry.
I'm
I
up with
literally
the chat. Hey,
got
Spoot.
in and went to the bathroom and then sat down.
Yeah, dude, good on you. Spoot says, "Not sure I want to play pickleball, but it's fascinating to listen about." Appreciate that. We try to make everything that we talk about fascinating to listen about. I'm not sure that it works every time, but
Yeah.
here we are. Charles says, "Welcome to everyone." Welcome, Charles. Thanks for joining us, man. Good to have you. You ready to roll, Bobby?
Yeah, let me share one more time.
Here.
One more time.
Bobby, do you remember the fajitas that we made in Emporia with the HEB fajita taco meat, like the chicken and stuff?
Yes, sir.
I smoked the chicken of those on the grill last night for the week.
Nice.
Bro.
So
We're in for a good week.
if you're ever, if either you ever, but mostly Robert, if you
Never have I ever.
if you're ever in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I am taking you to a place called Velvet Tacos. Have you heard of Velvet Tacos?
I think that I've been to Velvet Taco, not in Tulsa, but in
Texas?
OKC.
Oh,
No, I met a friend there when I was passing through.
I wonder if it's sure. It's got to be the same thing with a name like Velvet Tacos.
I would think so. It was awesome.
Oh
They're
yeah,
the same thing.
yeah. I got a friend here. They're like, okay, guy, I know you love Torchies, but I got to take you to Velvet Tacos, and I was like, sure, okay. I had me a chicken waffle one where the tortilla was a waffle, like a thin crepe waffle, and then I had a cheeseburger one. And you're thinking cheeseburger. I mean, but they they took time to season the meat really well. And I mean, it's not like they just threw it together. It was like you could tell that they take time to make each flavor or component of the taco do what it's supposed to do in the taco.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was
I feel like
good.
this is a slightly lesser known fact about Mexican restaurants, but like it's almost always true across the board, is that if there's a hamburger on a Mexican restaurant's menu, it's almost always a good hamburger. Yeah. Like that's one of the only crossovers where you can kind of count on it, you know?
Mm-hmm. You don't want to go to an Italian place and be like, yeah, give me that hamburger.
Yeah, you're not counting on those guys. Stick to the noodles.
Stick to the noodles. All right, let's get the show started. I'm going to actually, hold on, I got to do
To the nudes is what you said.
I said send nudes.
Send nudes.
Noodles.
I'm going to turn myself
Dude, I saw-
down.
Oh man,
I saw
I
a
almost
car
wore
driving
my Bad
on
at
my
Rocket League shirt.
trip up. Oh, yeah. I saw on my drive up here, there was a, souped up, I don't know, looked like I don't know what it was, but it was all souped up. And then just had a big, like, painted on the back that send nudes. And I'm just like, you spent all that money on your car.
Yeah, does that
and
work?
And that's what you went with. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably a demographic that's like, yes, please, what's your number?
Yeah.
So
I can't
is
imagine
dumb.
someone actually sends nudes based off that on their car.
Oh, that's me.
You're
I
sending
bet
the
it
nudes?
happens.
I do. I
You
send
do?
them.
Okay. That reminds me of on Netflix. Did you guys watch that show that was about the Girls Gone Wild whole phenomenon?
No.
I haven't, but I saw a preview for it.
It's pretty interesting what went down. Pretty interesting. All right, here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I'm Bobby Cool, Daddy Slick Breeze. I have with me Eric Oakley and
Hi.
Robert McCall.
Hello.
We are here for May 16th episode. If you watch us on YouTube, make sure you're aware of the new time. It is at 5 p.m. Central. Join us if you can live. Have dinner with DeGam, as Chaser90EK says. Dinner with DeGam. All right, so how about, did you guys have a pretty good weekend?
I did. Yeah, Eric, you can talk about yours. I'll talk about mine after.
I mean, I just finished up quarantining and finally had my negative test as of yesterday, so
Nice.
I get to get back into playing touring disc golf, so that's nice. Which also meant I got to play in the Polecat World Championships, which I'll talk about here in a second. After we continue to see what everybody else did. So I was only able to I went to this really small, tiny little 6-hole course just as a like, all right, cool. Just want to go do some putting on my first day back. And then I went to Brengle Terrace, which is a course in Oceanside, or I think it's in Vista or it's in San Marcos. Either way, in that area near Goat Hill. And I just had to go play. It was like, and I played solo and made sure I was, not going anywhere near anybody, but I just needed to play disc golf. And so it was good. I was throwing the disc better than I expected after not playing for 5 days because of having COVID. So I am excited to be back. Things are good. So yeah, that's why it's because I'm still like I had to miss out on Masters Cup, which sucks. So
Yeah, that's rough.
and I missed 2 of my favorite tournaments. I didn't realize that until I was in like the deep stage of realizing that Masters Cup was probably not going to happen. That I said, "Oh, cool! I drove 22 hours as fast as I could to play one of my favorite courses, and then I had to drop out of that tournament. And then, oh, what was after that? Ooh, cool! One of my other favorite tournaments and courses to play, and they're playing the golf course that I've played really well at. Oh, cool!
Yeah. Oh, nice. Appreciate that.
Yep. So that was something that happened. But
What about
all
your
good.
weekend?
I'm good.
Shay and I went up to Temple to play a little pickleball tournament. We got second. We had a really good shot at beating the team that won.
Yeah.
We went to 3 games with them, and it was just like we were talking about before the show, Bobby. Like we lost the first one in a pretty close game because we were kind of attacking early and getting a little anxious. Second game we slowed down and just made them play slow, and they made all the mistakes, and we won like 11-5. So we were cruising, we were ready to go, and we started the first game up 4-0. Then they brought it back to 4-4. Then we got up 8-4. They brought it back to 8-8. And so we were like, okay, let's press, let's get the ball back, run off 3 quick points, and we'll be done. And when we pressed, I mean, we didn't say that out loud, but you could tell like that's kind of where our heads were at.
Yeah.
When we started to press, we just made 3 mistakes back to back to back, and those were 3 points, and the game was over. It's really tight. But we're playing another one together in Kansas in a few weeks.
Nice.
How many Roberts were there throughout the tournament?
Not many this time. I was a pretty nice partner this time.
Yeah.
Dude, okay. If you're not familiar with pickleball, there's a shot in pickleball called an Ernie, in which one of the players jumps over the kitchen and hits the ball out of the air. Because like you can't hit the ball out of the air while standing in the kitchen, right? But you can get it as long as you jump over the kitchen to do it. Freaking Shay did that 5 times in this tournament, and 3 of them were just out and out winners, like one-shot winners. One of them was they got 1 shot back, and then I just put it away immediately. And then one of them, we just like continue the point. But it was sick. She was just jumping and just slamming it on him. It was pretty sick.
Shay's a baller.
So yeah, she ain't playing around, dude.
Yeah.
She ain't playing. She was really sad when we finished because like when we made those 3 errors, two of them were hers, one of them was mine. But like both of us made mistakes. But she was just like really apologetic, and I was like, dude, we had a freaking blast. And also, you earned them so many times, and it was sick. So
That's cool. That's cool.
We had a good time. It was really fun.
Nice. Well, my weekend I spent back in disc golf Mecca, or some people like to call it Emporia. So I went back to Emporia to check on the house and did a little house maintenance. And just for a little plug on the house, if you're looking to play some disc golf in Emporia or just visit Emporia, you now can sleep up to 6 people in my Airbnb.
Wow.
I took the 3rd bedroom and changed it from an office and added a full-size bed, so 2 people can sleep there. So if you're looking to make a vacation out of this summer and you want to go to Emporia, check it out on Airbnb. You can go to my Instagram, Uncle Bobby Jr., and go to the link in bio. This episode brought to you by Bobby's Airbnb in Emporia.
So I actually have something to say on the disc golf Mecca thing. Like, I want to debate that just mildly. Is because
it's not mild.
It is a prominent place for disc golf, but if we actually look at it I don't think you could say any one of those courses is one of the best courses in the country.
I guess
And
my thing would be then we have to define what Mecca means.
Mecca means it's like it has everything. And I think that's the one thing it's missing is it doesn't have that true. It doesn't have Maple Hill. It doesn't have Milo McIver. It doesn't
Right.
have that level of a course. Now, there aren't many other cities that are that behind disc golf.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so the reason I'll give you the reason I call it Mecca, and the
Okay.
reason we called it Mecca. For one, it was great for marketing to call it the disc golf Mecca, to have you come out
Yes.
and do things.
very smart.
But the meaning of Mecca is a place regarded as a center for a specific group, activity, or interest. And so, to me, to call it a disc golf Mecca, and because of Emporia being such a small town within 20 minutes, you have 11 to 12 courses. And so, if you were to spend a 3-day weekend in Emporia and all you wanted to do was disc golf, you could be playing all kinds of different courses.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Yeah, there's not the allure of a Maple Hill or something like that, or some of the other.
I would give the
places.
crown to but it's hard because it's when you're in Emporia, everybody knows about disc golf.
Right, and that's
If you go to a
right.
place like Charlotte or Minnesota that might have these, that have, when you look at their UDisc map, it's kind of insane. Like, you can play a lot of different courses. Like, those would be the other two that I would classify potentially as meccas. But you're not going to be able to go into a grocery store and be like, yeah, I'm here to play disc golf. And people are like, what's disc golf?
Right.
Or if you go into Emporia and you mention the words disc golf, everybody knows. So
Right,
there is
right.
that switch.
Right.
So that's why I would say it's like, I don't, it's like it's a disc golf city, but it's the disc golf city. I don't know, but
Right.
Mecca,
It's-
What
by
if-
the
what if-
definition, it kind
right.
of fits. But
So I would
Mecca,
call it-
Mecca to
it's-
me
it's-
feels epic.
Right. No.
Feels- like you're
So
That's
let's
me.
just say I'll
But-
say it's a disc golf Mecca.
sure.
It's
I
a
like
disc golf
Maybe not
destination.
the disc golf
100%.
Mecca, but it's a
Yes.
disc golf Mecca. Yeah, it's for sure a disc golf destination.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I mean, to also think of this, Eric. Like, we all have been there, for several years and a bunch of
so
tournaments
it's lost
and
its
stuff.
allure for us for sure.
Yeah, the shine of it isn't as prominent once you've been there. Like, the first time I went to Emporia, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sick. And to be fair, I was sponsored by DD, and I was stoked to be there. But I do think that the concentration of courses, and I think courses that everyone but the touring disc golfer would say are like pretty awesome
Amazing.
courses.
Yeah, for sure. They're
Yeah,
great.
so I
Practicing
think for the
casual
general
round
public,
courses.
yeah, for the general public, I would still argue it's one of the best places to play. I think
yeah. I
as
wasn't
far
trying to
as
take away from
like,
that, yeah.
yeah, of course. But then as far as like, places with a lot of variety and kind of like fabled disc golf courses. Hello, son. Would be like
Hello, little one.
it would be like Charlotte is got to be up there, and then Twin Cities definitely has to be up there. And honestly, hey, Des Moines, Iowa has to be up there.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
Des
give you
Moines
that.
is sick. They've got some
Yeah.
really awesome courses. Owen's just learned to open doors on his own.
Oh.
So he just pushes his way in, and he came in holding
some,
his
dude.
pickleball paddle.
Oh, nice.
Dude,
So,
he's
pretty tight.
starting him young. Starting him young.
Pretty tight.
Love
Nice.
it.
So,
Yeah,
Cool.
that was
anyway,
a small.
go.
Sorry for the small tangent.
get on with
Yeah.
it.
No, it's no
No,
big
you're
deal.
good.
I still will have it there. You can stay at the Airbnb. Last little plug.
Yes, please go to the disc golf. One
a
of the
disc golf.
Meccas.
There you go.
A disc golf
Mecca. All right, let's see. So that's it. Yeah. So great weekends all around for all of us.
You guys want to talk about the Pokewocha?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, the Polecat World Championships.
Yeah. What did you call it? A
so-
Pokewocha?
Yeah, that's what they've been calling it.
Pokewocha? That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's great. So great little concept. I definitely will play again next year. I used a DX Polecat, and I think I would have probably, after watching other people throw the Halo Polecat, I might have might have fared on a couple holes a little better just because of
benefited
this
from it.
added stability. But I had 2 bad breaks where I threw a shot at a left gap, baby hyzer, and it peeled up and drifted right, and then drifted about 120 feet across the fairway all the way, and then caught the downslope of something and scooted out of bounds, like barely out of bounds. And I was just like, man, okay. Like I like tried to play the safer
All
route
right.
because like there was a route to go like on a hyzer, but this would have been tough. Whatever. Got my bogey, no big deal. And then I missed 2 putts inside the circle, but both were 20 to 25 footers to an elevated basket, and both of those were headwinds. And if you haven't put a polecat into a headwind, it's not where you want to be. And so I missed those, and I was like, that sucks. But I got plenty. I got a couple birdies. I played really clean. I threw some really cool shots. I played with some one local and a bunch of just randoms. I didn't end up playing with a bunch of pros or anything, and I had an absolute blast. And it's a free event. They had stuff for sale to help promote the Polecat World Championships, and it's really cool. And I think it's going to run for the next 2 days, so people will go out and try and beat the scores that people put up. So it's really good. I think somebody's pushing close to like 4 or 5 down, which is rad. And I put up an even par, and I felt good. Also, having not played like an actual scored round in a while, like it was like kind of nice to
Right.
like, all right, like really like be in the moment, think about the shot, execute the shot, and I hit a lot of really good lines. So, was very fun.
That's awesome.
Harper Alexander. Let me make sure I get his name right. Harper Alexander is the guy who's running it. Awesome, really cool concept. I love to see that Innova's super behind it to help promote and help make things happen. We need more stuff like this in disc golf, and I actually had
just
the funny
fun
joke.
stuff.
Yes, fun, enjoyable, cool things to talk about. The Halo Polecat didn't need to be a disc, but it became a disc because it started out as a meme. People joked about it. You saw PDJ Rodman and on other pages just talking about it, and it was such a no-brainer for Innova to bring that to the public, and it ends up being a really fun thing that people can get behind. And I had this talk with the card. It's like, it's funny because I think the Polecat gang and the Berg gang are 2 people who like I don't throw the Polecat because I'm Berg guy, or that vice versa. It was like, no, you guys are
Right.
2 entities that need to be one, because you guys could take over the disc golf world because of the level of what's the word I'm looking for, like
memery.
not memery, but like how diehard they are for the disc. Like that level of loyalty. There it is. That level of loyalty is absurd. Like there are subreddits just for the Polecat gang and Berg gang. There are Facebook pages.
Wonderful.
Like this. Please take over disc golf, because what those 2 groups are doing is way better than anything else anybody else is doing. It's just like, it's positive, it's fun, it's pretty stupid most of the time, but it's like, but in that light of everything's just so awesome, and like I eat it.
That's
up,
really
so.
cool.
Huge fan. It was fun, and I whoever wins, I would put that on everything I possibly could. So I will try and win it next year. We'll be back.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so we don't have a lot of questions, so we'll take a long time to answer the questions that we have.
I saw the title. What's up with this?
Oh yeah, that's the first question. We'll jump into that one.
Nice.
Let's see if I got any more Facebook one. And then right before we jump into the questions, just a reminder, guys, if you want to have official Disc Golf Answer Man discs, go to doordisc.com. And looks like he has some Harps, Verdict, Keystone, and Wardens left. So,
Nice.
And it's got the official Disc Golf Answer Man stamp on there. So head over to doordisc.com, DOORDISC. Let's see. All right, yeah, we got a couple questions. Oop, nope, that's not where I wanted
Walter.
to go. Yeah, what's Walter up to?
Get him.
Owen keeps on opening the door.
Get him, Walter.
Whatever, man. Get in there. Let's do it.
All right, we'll go to the questions on Facebook, and then we'll jump over to the other one on rating. Okay. Let's see. Did anyone send Eric lime since he already had some Corona?
Hateful.
I mean, I don't want lime. I check for ticks every time I get done playing a course, so I'm gonna do my best to avoid that.
Of course, that's from our friend Chaser EK. Oh, Chaser said he put a speak pipe in. I'll have to grab that. I'll grab it as we answer this one from Frank. Eric, if you know that you can compete for a high place finish in an event, but you score way lower than you should or could, is having fun then more important at the end of the day? Knowing that your mental game needs to improve to compete, or should you be somewhat mad at yourself for not getting in the mix of a good result?
So, one, if you know you're supposed to play well, but then you don't, it's now an opportunity to learn, and I think that's something that you have to recognize in the moment, and you have to try and learn and take as much as you can from that round, because it's obviously not going to be a, oh, it's going to be this sick finish for really good ratings or a lot of money or anything like that, but that learning process can be really important for the upcoming events. You never know when that lesson you learn in that mediocre round or mediocre tournament is going to come and help you when you're in contention for an event. So I think that that's something to keep in mind, is like every opportunity is a chance to learn. Obviously you want to do well at certain events, but sometimes it's just not in the cards, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to separate yourself from that, say this is not my weekend, it's going to be someone else's. I need to just take what I can and be better. And I think that that's I think that's the best way to look at it, is just try and always learn. Be a sponge always, and absorb all of the things that are going on to look to be better if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard people before say there are only two outcomes when you compete: winning or learning, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's good, but also there are a lot of things to be learned when you win as well. Have you ever played a perfect round? Have you ever made every perfect decision, even if the shot wasn't executed perfectly?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Bobby has.
Yes.
But everybody else, though,
Bobby
they haven't
Berg's
done that
500,
yet.
so...
I mean, that's fair. Think about it. So, yeah, I mean, I do think there's a lot to learn regardless of the outcome of the round. There's always something to learn. Mm-hmm. Bobby, I have a couple of questions from the chat as well.
Go for it. Yeah.
So,
let's see.
You want me to go for it?
Yeah, let's go do a couple from the chat. Go for it.
Okay. One of the first ones earlier, he said, from an amateur ratings outlook, which is worse, an 888 or a DQ? Is the answer any different for a pro? Okay. So if you are unfamiliar with what 888 means, that is a round designation assigned to you if you are known to be intentionally throwing your rating during a round. So like I've had this happen on a card before, where a guy, he was almost 1,000 rated, or he was getting up there, was having a terrible round, and he was like, I just don't want this to count on my rating, and I'm not going to cash anyway. So we got to this little short hole, and he took like a 30 on it. I mean, just putted short, just like dropped 1 foot in front, 1 foot in front, 1 foot in front, until we got to the basket. And it was rated like 600 something, and so it didn't count. This was before this rule. That is what the 888 rule is attempting to avoid. Once again, if you're unfamiliar with ratings, if a round rating is more than 2.5 standard deviations below your rating, then it would be dropped, right? And every time, sorry, my camera's doing for some funky things right now. I don't know why. Every time you play a round, it factors into your rating. However far that round rating is from your actual rating changes your standard deviation. So there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that. But if you play bad enough, you can have that round be dropped. I have benefited from this many times. Not many times. like 3 or 4 or 5 rounds in my career that were just absolutely the worst I could ever play, and they got dropped, and it was awesome.
I'm in the position though that they should count. If we're gonna do this rating system, it shouldn't. There should all your rounds should count.
Me too.
And that's so even if you tank, it goes against your rating. I don't. This is where my common phrase of "Welcome to disc golf," where the ratings are made up and the pars don't matter, and it's that alone that we have this standard deviation is constantly changing and it's different for everybody. Is like we're just getting it's too nuanced. There are like 3 people in the world that fully understand the rating system. So again, stupid. So continue. Sorry.
Look, 100% from me. I think that they should count. I have benefited from them not counting.
Same.
And I was
Absolutely,
happy at that time. But this wasn't on a. I'll say this 100% certainty. I've never thrown around, ever.
No,
especially not for a rating. Like I came out to compete, and even if I'm playing awful, I'm still going to try and compete until the last putt drops in the basket.
I've thrown league rounds where I'm trying to just ace everything because it's like a big ace spot. That's not the same.
Totally. It's a little bit different
situation.
So anyway, an 888 is what's applied to your rating if you intentionally throw around for rating, or if you don't give proper notice to the TD before the start of a rated round that you're not going to be there. Okay. If you have an 888 on your rating, then you lose 5 rating points for the next 6 months of your rating. So if I'm 980 rated and I go and throw around, then I'm 975 rated, regardless of any updates after that. Like I'm automatically 5 points less than I actually am for the next 6 months. Okay. So that's what an 888 is. DQ is different. It doesn't count against your rating, but every DQ carries the potential of disciplinary action, right? So suspension, probation, everything like that. It's less of a rating hit and more of a, hey, you just might not be able to play in the PDGA hit. So no different for amateurs or pros.
All the same.
Those are both, 888's the same whether you're an amateur or pro. Same goes for DQs. But one is kind of an unsportsman way to do something, like to throw around to save your rating. The other is intentionally breaking rules, drinking on the course, stuff like that. So that's what the difference about those is. That's a good question.
There you go. Good question.
I have 2 more quick ones, if that's okay.
Yeah, which one are you going to do?
Question for Eric Oakley, though. Are you ready for this question, Eric?
I am ready.
Okay. He says, I'm playing an A tier at Smuggler's Notch, Brewster, and Fox Run. Sick. Is there anything that sticks out from those courses that always seems to harm every single player there?
It is very common on Fox Run to play overly aggressive. I remember, Fox Run was actually one of the first courses I ended up playing like a really, really good round on as a touring player. It was like, in the 1030s. And, at that point was definitely in the higher rated rounds I've shot. I shot in thousands, but not that high yet. And maybe it was higher. I don't recall. Either way, played really good.
I think it was in the 1050s, Eric. Yours
okay.
At Fox Run.
Yeah. So but why it was why I did that was I played the course to my strengths, not to what was possible to be done on the course, I guess is the point. It's like, yeah, you can go out and shoot 18 down at Fox Run. It's doable. It's there. It's just, you have to throw really good shots. But what I was doing was laying up on certain holes. I put the disc in the fairway every single time and didn't really have many OB strokes and played very, very good. So that's the one thing that happens at Fox Run is people they just try too much and find trouble. If you put it in between the sticks, if you will, then you're going to be just fine. And that's how Fox Run plays. Brewster's a different beast because the some of the holes that have OB in the woods and it's just some tight wooded golf, like you just need to be hitting your gaps. And so don't think about power, don't think about anything else. Be clean and hit your lines on Brewster and you can play it really well. Be ready to make a lot of circle 2 putts because a lot of the greens are difficult to access, and you can throw a really good shot, catch a tree or a root or something, and still have a 35 to 45 footer left to make. So those are the things that really help rounds on Brewster shift from being okay to great. Is cool. I made 3 or 4 circle 2 putts, and or I only had to make 2 circle 2 putts because every putt got close and I was able to capitalize on them. So that's how those two stand out. And there are a couple holes on Brewster that do not mess with them. Don't mess with it. Once you're off the fairway, take whatever you're going to get. Swallow a bogey. Don't let it turn into a double or more, because that's usually what I has happened and what I've seen happen to players is that they still think birdie is in play. They go for it. Now they're taking a bogey or worse, and that's fine. If they would have, but it probably would have served their mental game better had they played for a 50-footer for par instead of trying to still try and get a birdie. And a 50-footer for par is still a chance to save par. So, and likely a bogey, but it's, you know, you're not stressing too much about a tap in for bogey as you would be a 25-footer for bogey, because you've had to now get really, like, you've had to scramble for it. So those are things that I would definitely think about when playing in Vermont on those courses.
Good stuff. Very well thought out answer, Eric. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're very welcome.
All right, we
I've been
want
there a
to do.
lot. It's one of my favorites. I think
Yeah.
about it all the time.
So, was Racing Daddy one of the other ones you had, Robert? Or
Yeah.
yeah. So let's go.
Yeah,
with
so
that
the
one.
last one was he said being right at the MA3, MA2 cutoff. Would you recommend playing up or playing where eligible? Hot topic, I know, but I did win my first B tier in MA3 a few weeks ago. Racing, I'm always in favor of playing the division that your rating allows you to, if that's where you want to play. Okay? If you have already won an MA3 tournament and you would like to play another one, your rating allows you to do that. Absolutely do that. If you want to improve and you're close to that cutoff, I would recommend playing up and watching people who are better than you and playing people who are better than you, at least right now, and seeing what they're doing differently than you're currently doing. Because there are some things in MA3 that you'll get away with that you won't in MA2. Same goes for MA2 to MA1. Same goes for MA1 to Open. The more that you play with better players, the better you're going to get. And I think there is absolutely something to be said for having the experience of playing a higher level of tournament before you feel like you should be ready to compete at that level of tournament. Like, I think there's something to making a lead card on MA2. You're probably not going to play great when you make that lead card, but for the next time you make it, you're going to be more comfortable because you've been there. And then the next time you make it, maybe you get the win or something like that. So if you want to grow as a player, I would recommend to play MA2. If you want to practice winning and being in those lead card situations, and you have a pretty good feeling that you could do that, you're fine to play MA3. I don't think there's anyone who would argue against that. Mm-hmm. But if it's me, I'm playing up. I started playing advanced. I played 5 or 6 advanced tournaments and then just went to Open, knowing that I would get smoked, and I did for a while. But then I improved quickly, and that was it.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on that. I think you hit it on the nose. Because I went such a different path, you know, and it's
right.
I don't think that it's different for everybody. My concept is like there's the two schools of thoughts are do what you're doing, exactly what you're doing right now. What's his name? Racing Daddy. Yeah. Do exactly what you're doing. It's totally fine. Move up when you feel confident. I, for one, just went straight to Open, but I also asked people what I should do. And the common consensus was Open was the best place for me, even though I probably would have played well and won some tournaments in AM, but I think I accelerated certain aspects of my game by playing in Open. I had to learn how to win in Open, which was really hard and really tough. And if you go watch the first time I made lead card at a big event was at DDO, I did not follow it up with a great round, even though it was in terrible conditions. But I that later propelled me to win a tournament later that year because I made that
Right.
really big experience. So there's a lot.
Stelly.
There's a lot to it. Yeah, Stelly Coon. I'm actually going back for the first time next week.
Sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. I haven't thought about it, but it's like I'm really excited. I think they lost part of the course, so that part sucks. So I won't be able to play some of the holes that I played. But I think the wooded track we played twice, that when I won it, is still there. But some of the open holes are now gone.
All right, I'm going to jump down to another question we got on the YouTube chat from Mike, and this one is: when putting, is there an advantage to hitting chains at a hyzer angle, such as with Paul Macbeth, versus hitting the chains at a flat angle?
I don't know. I saw this question, and I honestly don't know how to answer it because I have seen. I mean, I would say the tendency on a hyzer putt, you have a chance if you're not on the pole, to maybe get vertical and cut through. But I've also seen flat putts do the same thing. So it's like chains and different baskets are so weird. And until we have a standardization of baskets across the board, and we agree on what we want that to be as a disc golf community, I don't think either is better than the other, as long as it's going in and is consistent. I mean, look at Greg Barsby. He's a world champion, and he has a very steep hyzer putt at times. You know, Matt Bell has kind of a hyzery putt too, and you know, I know Noah Mainsma putts on a lot of hyzer. There are people who do it. There are people who put on anhyzer and make it work. So I think there's a level of finding what works for you. The technology of the baskets may favor one over the other at times, but I don't think it's a big enough factor to say one is out and out better than the other.
Yep. Just to add on to the very end of that, I think you're exactly right, Eric. I think baskets probably favor a flatter putt in general. Mm-hmm. However, if you have an ingrained hyzer putt, if that's how you always putt, I think that you lose more strokes from trying to flatten your putt out and mess with your release than you do from putts cutting through. Yep. Take it from someone who putts on hyzer and who has tried to flatten their putt out. I have missed way more putts trying to get like a perfectly flat or even just like the most subtle hyzer angle rather than just sticking with like the 20-degree hyzer that I have, 25-degree, whatever it is.
On the pole type of thing.
And and just making that consistent every time. Like that's what feels normal to me. That's what feels right. I get cut throughs just like everybody, but I don't think it's more so than if I don't get more cut throughs than I miss if I try to flatten that putt out.
And a flat putt sometimes can have has a better chance to spit out because it's hitting more chains and it's getting a lot slower and maybe it's making and more is hitting onto the pole. Like there are a lot of factors that can happen. Like I think the other part is that I've learned when I've gone back and played on like Mach 3s and Mach 5s. It's just like, yeah, you know it's probably going to spit it out, but don't putt it any different just because it might do that. Putt it the same way you would on any basket. Make sure that stroke feels the same because you would feel better about not limping one in or limping one and not making it than putting it in the heart and then it just coming back out. Like that feels fine where you don't even give it a chance feels way worse. So I think that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Look back at the Kansas City Wide Open from a few years ago. 2 of the rounds were played on Mach 3s, and I was terrified of getting spit out, and I shot like back to back to back 990s to get like 15th place. And I did not throw the disc that bad.
Yeah.
Right? It was because I was terrified of spit outs, and so I hit a bunch of cages and tried to flatten them out. Like, yeah, I know from experience.
Just
hit the basket. If it's going to spit out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's going to spit out, make it spit out. Like, hit your putt in the basket. And if it spits, you can be like, well, that sucks.
Gannon Burr is a prime example. And look at what happens when he doesn't have as many spits as his putt is it's popped in there. And there are people who say his putt isn't good, but I've played plenty of rounds with him, and his putt is incredible. I watched W.R. Jackson. He would have been, I think it was like 8. He would have been 8 through 8 or 9 through 9 or something like that. But he had a 45-footer spit straight out at him. So it's not that he just putts too hard. No, it's his putt hits very clean on the pole a lot of the time. So sometimes it's just gonna pop out, and yeah, there are times where he hits it hard, but I mean, I that his putt stays in more than it pops out, and him being frustrated that it pops out is totally justified. And every person who goes into the chats and comment sections that says, you hit like 3 links too high," like, shut up. No, it doesn't matter. He's hitting the basket on the pole. He's doing what he's practiced in the moment in a pressure situation. I don't care that he hit a little bit too high. The basket didn't do its job at that point. And you can say it's too hard, it's too anything, but I guarantee if he goes back and throws that same putt, he gets a different result and it's in his favor. So stop being a keyboard warrior and understand that our baskets need to change. And just because your local course has the same baskets and you don't have any problems on it, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything, because we should always be looking to elevate the standards that we have in disc golf. And baskets are one of those things.
For sure.
That's like a super uphill battle, changing the standards of. I mean, that's been a topic forever, and I just can't imagine.
But you have to do the trickle down effect. You have to do it at the pro level events, and if any event wants to now be at a high pro level, they will elevate their basket standards. Where
I gotta imagine that topic comes up though, like at board meetings and stuff like that for Disc Golf Pro Tour. I gotta imagine that's coming up.
It's on the table.
But it's such a monumental thing to put into place. I mean, when you're just trying hard enough to find great venues to have, as the sport grows, and then you're gonna ask, you've got hundreds of volunteers that don't get paid to do this. And then you're going to ask them to spend more money on having, by the way, we have a new standard of basket that's different than what you have on your course. So, but I agree with you. Right. I think, and I do like the idea of, I've seen it different, and this is kind of a different tangent, but along with the lines of, and you guys have talked about, I've seen other pros where the rules and certain standards and certain things are different at the Disc Golf Pro Tour level, where they actually have their own set of guides and rules to follow that are very different than what the PDJ puts out for everybody. That'll be interesting when that happens. That's got to happen eventually, right? To where
for sure, it has to.
Yeah,
interesting.
When I hear you say elevating disc golf, I hear you're advocating for more elevated baskets.
Yes,
I mean,
is that correct?
Yes.
Did I hear that
dude,
correct?
Salt in the wound. I missed 2 elevated putts.
Got him.
Get out of here.
Got him.
No, I am for a good mixture, though. I do actually like when people talk about the elevated baskets. It's good. It is a good thing. It should be, but I don't want to see 9. It should be 3 at most. I think 2 is great number. 3 at most feels fine. Once you're pushing into 4 or 5, it's just like it's like we just did this, and that's not. And if the course design doesn't allow for things to be really good, then elevating a couple baskets does help. But then also fix the course design, change the holes, and that's where when we get to more private venues, like Bobby's talking about, it's like, well, you got to elevate your baskets too. It's like once we get to that, I think that'll be another factor in this whole line of thinking, is that courses will be better to where you don't need to elevate baskets because the hole is already difficult enough.
Yeah. So back to Mike's question, coming from someone who always misses their putts, it doesn't matter what you do. You're just still going to miss your putts, so don't change a thing. Okay, let's go to Chaser's question on Speak Pipe. Let me see. I think I remembered. We may have to make one more change if this doesn't work. Let me know if you hear this.
What's up, Geekam fam? This is Shay from Philly with a question for you about live scoring. I'm curious, do you think the pros should have access to the scoreboard? Basically, we had an event here where the chase card was doing really well. It was a really tight race at the top, and after hole 15, the live scores stopped populating just for whatever reason. Their card wasn't showing up after hole 15, and like the lead card was freaking out. What's happening? The one guy even accused the scorekeeper, who was doing well, of putting his phone into airplane mode so it wouldn't broadcast the scores, which I found hilarious. I mean, even before we had live scoring, I remember cases, where people, rumors would just fly across the course. Oh, so-and-so's on a heater. Oh, man, the leader went OB twice on hole 16. And I remember cases where those rumors were false. They thought the guy was on a heater, and they had just missed that he had, shanked his drive into the fairway and chipped out and thought his third shot was really his second. So I'm just curious, do you think it should be, accessible to players? Because it can affect their game, and there can be technological problems. I mean, I think it was USDGC where Macbeth was actually within one of Burr, and there was some kind of score error, and that may have affected his play if that wasn't corrected quickly, and he might have actually laid up his putt on 17. So just curious what your thoughts are, if that should be something the pros should be able to see. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, keep it real.
What do you guys think?
I always try and look towards other sports as guidance, and look at soccer as an example of, if you're coming down the stretch of a season and you need a certain result and a team plays before you, so you play an afternoon game and they have a morning game, are you not allowed to see the results to know how you need to get a point to stay above them, or do you need to get 3 points to stay above them? Also, that happens in real time. Look at Manchester City's infamous Premier League win when Sergio Aguero scores in the last second. Like, obviously they were trying to win that game no matter what, but it was to the point where they didn't know that, like, if Manchester United would have drawn, and all they needed was a draw, but Manchester United had won and they were sitting there tied, and a tie loses them the title. So they knew they needed to push. They knew they needed to put more numbers forward, and they needed to find a way, and they did. So that information is passed on from the bench. That's all there. I would imagine golf, their caddies are at least tuned in to something that's going on, or it might be pretty commonplace to see the scores. So I think it's a good thing, because it's allowing professionals to be really good, like, and play the game as they should. The last thing you'd want to see happen is somebody not knowing the scores, knowing that they should lay up, and then they run a putt that costs them the tournament. Like, but all they had to do was just pitch, and I think that would be worse. So I would lean in the direction that I think it is a good thing. Now, technological errors are whatever. The homie you're talking about who's calling foul, he should have played better, and it wouldn't have been an issue. He should have got on a heater and played well, and he would have won the tournament outright. Not because of what somebody did on chase card, and then the fact that they didn't keep up with live scoring to try and get in somebody's head. It's like, let's stop the deflecting. You didn't play well enough. You didn't deserve to win. It is you versus the course at the end of the day, and sometimes you versus the course means laying up for the win. So That's my thoughts.
I think back to when AFC Richmond was trying to get to regulation, and they had to know.
Dude, hey, listen, I'll fight anybody that says that's not one of the best shows on television.
Robert Connor.
I love Ted Lasso.
That's good.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I think keep up with the scores if you want to. Don't if you don't want to, but to ask everyone not to keep up with them is a little silly. So,
yeah, look at them if you want.
Yeah.
Like, I tend to not look at my own score. I can easily figure it out if I just think about
Right.
it. But I don't. It's not going to change how I play. Like there are certain times where you should look, but you don't need
Yeah.
to. Like you don't. You shouldn't be checking scores every time and always looking, because then you're too focused on the result rather than the task at hand and throwing the next shot
Right.
good and being good in the next opportunity you have. Like, just be good. Sometimes your best round is not going to be very good, but you still need to go play as good as you possibly can, because
Yeah.
if you go and try and play better, you might play way worse. So you have to think about those things, and don't get in your head that,
Yeah.
oh, this sucks, I'm gonna be so bad. It's like, no, just play. Today might not be your day, but tomorrow might be,
Yeah.
or the next tournament you play, you might absolutely shred. So
Yeah.
Just
I
like in
listened
life.
to,
Oh wait. Oh, sorry. I was going to get a philosophical. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. I listened to Brody Smith and I think it was Trevor talking about no, maybe it was Hunter. I don't remember. Talking about his finish at DDO and Brody's mental game. If you guys haven't listened to that already, I think he's made massive strides in his mental game. I didn't know anything about it before, but just the way that he talks about processing through a round, accepting mistakes, what he thinks about when looking at scores and stuff, it's worth a listen.
Yeah.
And he talks about looking at scores as well. I thought it was a really refreshing take that he's pretty, he in the past has been prone to complaining about like bad breaks or courses or whatever, and he's like, dude, if you catch me complaining, call me out on it. You know, everybody has to play the same course, everybody has to play the same conditions, and you know, we hear different counterpoints to that a lot from pros and amateurs alike. But I just thought it was a refreshing take. It was interesting to hear him talk about it, and I think with that kind of mentality, that kind of player is tough to stop. If they're just not going to allow themselves to be affected by a lot of stuff, like that's pretty tough, man.
You end up in a situation where nothing's dragging. You've created less drag, I guess, would be in in that situation. Nothing's holding you back. And you know, to a standpoint of maybe it was easier for him to not complain as much at DDO because the breaks weren't bad, but he
He
catch
played
some
well
bad breaks. He did play well, so it's easier to not complain. And you know, I had somebody pop into our morning coffee and just like complain, and he dropped the, you get to play disc golf for a living, like think about that, like you have it so lucky. It's like, dude, okay, come on, like let's not go into this. But it was that same situation we were talking about. All right, the wind was insane. Was it too much? Maybe. And that's why we have this conversation, because I do think that there's a level of when the result becomes completely out of our control is when we're now leaning away from what we've practiced and what is actually good for disc golf. Because straight up, if I feel like I'm a very good player and I'm throwing the disc really well, the results should reflect that. I genuinely think they should, and that's what we saw at Champions Cup with WR Jackson. Is you felt like you were in complete control from start to finish of the tournament. At DDO, it was you threw the disc and it was a roll of the dice many times in that kind of wind. So you felt, now what happens is now less in my control, in that starts to, in certain ways, harm the competition. And you know, now okay, I'm getting on tangents, but just to put that, it's like that starts to harm the results, it starts to harm the tournament itself, and it starts to harm the play, because you want the best players who are throwing the disc the best to be at the top, right? Not letting the conditions be like, oh, well, you know, they didn't have as many bad wind gusts, and or their shots didn't blow out of bounds, they just happened to stay in bounds, and that is the difference maker. That becomes a very fine line. And again, this is not to take away from Brody, Logan, or anybody who was more of the outliers who played well, because they did play disc golf incredibly well at the Dynamic Disc Open. Nobody can take that away from them. But there were a lot of other players that we didn't see even play the final day that I would say that they didn't go out and throw the disc like crap the whole weekend. That there were just things that just were like just completely out of their hands. So that, yeah, shifting the conversation to be less complainy, but actually try and make a resolution of we need to elevate our game to be understanding that conditions shouldn't be the only factor. They should be a portion of it, not the only thing that matters.
All right, our last question for this episode comes from Isaac. Why do pros and journalists use outliers like Fountain Hills or the random guy rated 1045 from one tournament to discredit the ratings? There is no other area where you let the outlier define the usefulness of something. Eric saying it's useless because anyone can win any weekend is a rather poor argument. If ratings were meant to determine who is going to win this week, they wouldn't even play and just hand out trophies. Ratings are meant to see how a player has performed over the course of 12 months on average, and that is a useful statistic. Nobody thinks that the random guy at 1045 is top 10 in the world because we use ratings as a part of the puzzle, not the whole thing. This is why the highest rated player doesn't also win player of the year.
It's a pretty solid argument and a pretty good point. I guess the point is that, you know, maybe you need to play for 12 months before you get a rating. So that 1045 is not an outlier. Because guess what? That person is now ranked or you know, on the PDGA page and is one of the top people you see when you look at when you search players' names, which is important. And I think it discredits everyone else who is 1045 rated, even though he is an outlier. We use Fountain Hills as an example because it is predominantly producing higher ratings, and the course is not harder. It is not harder than W.R. Jackson. It just isn't. W.R. Jackson is a way more demanding course. Just because there's OB at Fountain Hills and it's just predominantly rated higher, it's now like shifted itself into this place where it's this echelon where it's like, if you want good ratings, go play the Memorial. Like it's like kind of a meme on tour now, and that shouldn't be the case. And it's like, what is the only thing that's challenging you at Fountain Hills? It's the OB. That's it. But, you know, Jackson has OB and lines and elevation and plenty of other factors. Like so those things should have more weight in the ratings, in my opinion, as why we have an issue with the ratings is some courses rate better than others, and we've seen players shoot incredible rounds, and then we are surprised by the ratings. And like we know when somebody has just absolutely tore it up, and we want to see if we're gonna have this rating system, we want to see 1100. We want to see that because we feel one, the player who does it deserves it, because it is an accolade. Not many people have shot 1100 rated rounds, and two, it's to that same standpoint of people feel robbed of it, and why I want to move away from the rating system as a touring professional standard is like it can be a part of your PDGA number and it's a stat, but it needs to stop being like, oh, this player 10 something rated, blah blah blah. Like it becomes so much of your identity of that rating. And I would much rather it be, all right, cool, this person is ranked this. So especially on the touring level, I think ratings are fantastic for AMs and for local pros, because at least you can compare where you stand in theory to the touring professionals by looking at those numbers. But I would much rather my ranking, even if it's in the 40s or 50s right now, because I had a bad season last season and I haven't played much this season because of certain reasons. I would rather it be Eric Oakley, number 50, instead of 1017. Because there are local guys that could come out and they're 1015, 1017 rated that I might like if we go and play a Pro Tour event, they might not cash, but I might be in the top 20. But by the ratings, we're supposed to be a very similar player, but we're not. And I think that that's the issue with the ratings, is that it says these players should shoot similar scores all the time, but there's just a difference of being on tour and playing and understanding how to play touring golf. And it's just the rating system isn't good. It's adequate at best. I think that's where I'll stand on that, because I just don't think it's good.
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah,
You agree or disagree?
I don't care that much about ratings, especially because
We don't care about
last
you.
time I did was no. The last time I did care about ratings was for a bet, which I won. I don't know if you guys
Got him.
smoked Bobby real hard.
Wrecked
but
Bobby.
The problem with ratings is that they are specific to this group of people playing this course on this day, right? It's not for a specific course. It's based on who is there that day. And so it's just always going to be an imperfect system. It's not quite fully arbitrary, like it's not entirely meaningless, but it is flawed. And at the pro level, I think that it's less relevant. Yeah, I would love to see world rankings at the pro level just be the kind of the only thing that we see for those guys. But it also doesn't bother me that much. The thing that bothers me the most is when I see somebody like Macbeth put down what did he put down at Jackson? 16, 17?
16.
Yeah. And for that to be rated like 30 something points lower than his memorial round, like the memorial round's sick. Like that's awesome. But he played better golf than every. Yeah, like yes.
No, but have you
awesome.
Watching the video of his memorial round was hyzer putt, hyzer putt.
That's what I'm
putt.
saying. It's like I get what this question is saying, is that this is judged on an outlier, but the problem is that outlier weighs just like any other round on tour.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, right? So that's why I think they're a little silly. That 16 at Jackson is way better than the Fountain Hills one. The 18 at Toboggan is way better. Even the 18 at Waco is way better than the 17 at Memorial.
Yeah.
So all that to say, they're just a little too arbitrary for my liking, especially at the pro level. They're not great at the AM level either, but at least they give you some reflection of where you can kind of be in the divisions, and that's fine. But I don't really care that much about them. People that get wound up about them.
He did mention like it doesn't matter, like the rating system doesn't. If we talked about it as like, oh, it doesn't. You would just hand out the trophies at the end, but it's like, it's an understanding that anybody can win at the weekend, and that's why the ratings, a ranking system is better, because you see it often in tennis when a lower seed, a lower ranked player makes
call
a
it an
run.
upset.
It's big, and that I think that has a little bit more weight. Like I would, I'd rather see an unranked touring professional come in and have an amazing round, but what it shows as well, if you have a good world ranking, it shows that you're one of the people out there grinding. You've earned enough of the rounds and been on tour to be in this world ranking system, which shows that those are the people that have put it in and put the effort in. And to say that my 1017 rating is the same as some local in Charlotte or local in Texas that's also 1017 rated, but we didn't play against the same competition. And I understand how to play on the Pro Tour is different. And granted, that dude could come out, shred, and easily be ranked higher than me if he were to be able to put it in. Like that's a total possibility. But
Right.
I would say put me next to another person who's 10-17 rated that's not touring. I don't think we're the same golfer. I just
Why
don't.
are you so salty about it, though?
Yeah.
I'm not salty about it. It's
I'm
something
joking.
I've had to think about it. You shut up.
You say that.
It is what it is. People will have their own thoughts and feelings about it. At our level, the ratings just don't. They're not
Yeah.
good enough. It is not
Yeah.
good enough, and it shouldn't be
I'll-
this big
I will
factor. Because
agree.
another part is it's how we register for tournaments.
Yeah,
Blows
that's
my
true.
mind. It
Yeah.
does have a lot of impact because, I mean, I almost I had to I was on this podcast when I was signing up for the Champions Cup because I was 1 point from a rating difference from being able to sign up earlier. And
Right.
I might have not got into a major because of that 1 point. And I'm 10-19
Yeah,
rated
that
I was
sucks.
10-19 at the time. 10-20 was the thing. So that's a small factor. So it's like we just need to move away from this and have a ranking system and yeah.
Oh,
I'll
go to
agree
rankings.
that,
what, you go ahead.
I'll agree that a local 10-15 guy and a touring 10-15 guy are not the same player. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Anyone who says they are is silly.
Well, there you go, folks.
That's it.
That's what we got for you on this particular episode. I thought it was going to be a short episode. This ended up being a pretty in-depth
We went on some
episode.
tangents.
Yeah,
Well,
we
I
did.
went on some tangents. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, who is
about-
we?
And it's about time you had some tangents, Eric, because you never have any tangents at all.
I'll
Ever.
tell you what.
I
If
am-
anything bothers me about Eric, it's how much he stays on the course.
Right. Never has an opinion about anything, so I appreciate you
Ever.
voicing them tonight. No, I love that you have opinions. Okay, guys. So, yes, as always, keep sending those questions in, discgolfanswerman.com. I believe I saw on the chats that we were 6 away from 1,000 subscribers.
5
So-
from what I'm seeing.
5 now. So once we hit that 1,000 subscriber, I'm going to pick a winner to have Eric send out a Dynamic Disc Combat Ranger brand spanking new disc golf bag sent out to a winner once we get 1,000 rated. 1,000 rated.
Oh, we lost one actually, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
are 6 away.
We are back to 6. Okay. The ratings
Hate to
talk
see
pissed
that.
someone off apparently. So
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you
yeah,
called me
so-
out. I'm not a keyboard warrior. They putt too hard. He putts too hard.
Thank you to all the Patreon supporters. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/DGAM. Give your monthly support so we can have some tacos and pay some of the bills for the podcast. And if you're going out to Emporia, check out my Airbnb. You can go to my Instagram. I'm telling you, I'm plugging that. You can have now up to 6
Why
people
not?
stay.
Hey,
at a
can I
beautiful,
stay there
charming house.
for Worlds?
If you want to pay
free?
for it. You know what I did? I did not block off that week to have.
Oh, and it got
and it
rented.
got rented for the weekend for people that are not staying for disc golf. They're like
Cancel.
I
That's
can't-
on you,
I can't
Bobby.
believe what they're doing. I know.
Cancel.
That's on you.
Made me so mad. Anyway, so yeah, check that out at you can go to airbnb.com/something/Uncle Bobby Jr. something like that. You can go to my Instagram.
That's,
go to my-
that's a quality URL.
yeah, like that, my bio link, and it'll be on there. So, all right, gentlemen, any parting words for this episode?
No.
Stay awesome. Be healthy. Make good decisions.
All right.
Everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.